Good evening. Welcome to the Fitchburg Municipal Airport Commission meeting, March 16th, 2022. It's 6:03. I'd like to introduce the commissioners in attendance. To my far left, Commissioner David Genesi, Commissioner Beth Walsh, myself, Chair Clayton Raymond, and Commissioner Richard Liberatore over to my far right. Also in attendance is Airport Manager Peter Kettle, to my right, and in our audience is Jackie Marks, and I believe Matt Karen will be via Zoom.
Correct.
Thank you. And Airport Manager Assistant is Deb Silva. Let's begin. Action items from previous month's, let's go back. Previous month's minutes approval, including special meeting minutes. We have January, February, and March meeting minutes in a draft format. I've looked over January's, I've sent out February for comment. March is also out for comment. The only thing I see missing on March is the motions weren't sequential with the date, month, and sequence. So I motion to approve all 3 months, but I have to say with a note that I need to get those sequential numbering system on the motions. So motion to approve, Chair Raymond.
Second.
With the fix.
Second.
We have a vote?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Correspondence to the commission, I have not received anything. Mr. Kettle?
No, there is none.
Item 3, Gail, review of ongoing work. You all set? Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'll just try to keep things brief this evening. I'll go through Gail's monthly project update. I believe I provided each of you a copy of that. Review of ongoing work, the airport master plan. So during last month's meeting, the commission selected preferred alternatives. Chapter 6 was that chapter that was subsequently forwarded to FAA Mass DOT for review and comment. We've since moved into the final 2 chapters of the master plan, which are the schedule of improvements, chapter 7, and then the airport recycling summary, essentially, is what it is in chapter 8, which is a requirement of FAA. Then we also have the airport layout plan. I'll be giving a brief presentation on those items in a little while, but I'll just kind of continue going through Gail's update. Following this evening's meeting and pending any revisions to Chapter 7, 8, and the ALP, what we'll do is we'll provide copies of those items to the commission for upload onto the city website so that the commission and the public can have an opportunity to review those items between now and next month's meeting before we ask for any sort of, formal vote from the commission to start sending these items for approval, or the ALP over to FAA for approval. So just another outstanding item. I know we were talking about those utility poles on Crawford Street. Those items were submitted through the OE system. We've checked on those periodically to see if there's a determination that has been issued with respect to what needs to happen with those poles. Do they need to be lit? Do they need to be lowered? Still no response on those. As soon as we receive a response, certainly will update the commission as well as update the master plan plan to reflect any changes that may result or any projects that are required. So we're in the home stretch here with the master plan process. So final step in the process will be to submit the ALP, the airport layout plan, through OEAAA to FAA and MassDOT for final approval. And then we can make any final corrections within the master plan document, finalize that document, and we will be able to move into closing out the project. Any questions so far in the master plan? I'll get into a little bit more when we get into the presentation.
Anyone? All set.
Okay, so the last couple of items on our agenda, just the environmental assessment and wildlife hazard assessment project. So grant applications for that project were submitted to FAA and MassDOT on the 5th of this month. So just waiting for the eventual grant award to begin that work. And then other items on page 3 of our update, we have the MassDOT pre-application ASMP installation of a backup generator. So plans and specifications for the project are complete. Or nearing completion, I apologize. And the contract is still awaiting an IFE review from MassDOT. So as soon as we receive that independent fee estimate, Gale's fee can be finalized and can get going on getting that contract circulating. And then modifications to the fuel tank system. Gale is able to assist with that application as soon as we have the cost estimates for those modifications. And then as far as the hangar door replacements, we don't have any updates on those at this time. Any questions on those items?
No question, but a comment.
Sure.
If we look at number 2, modifications to the fuel tank system to allow the bottom loading using the airports to refuel a truck, that work's already been completed.
Okay.
It's already been paid for by
Perfect.
Titan, the owner of the trucks.
Okay,
So
wonderful.
we don't need any help on the ground.
I will remove that from our agenda. Thank you,
Thank
Peter.
you.
Perfect.
That was good.
Yeah.
I like it. Little arm twisting.
Absolutely,
You know, any way we can get it, we'll take it.
absolutely.
Thank you, Peter.
Good job, Peter.
So if there are no other questions, I'll just move into brief presentation on chapter 7 and 8 and the airport layout plan. So Matt, if you could please go to the next slide, if you can hear me. There we go. So we'll give a brief overview of chapter 7, the schedule of improvements. You have your short-term projects. Yes, Peter?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No problem.
Item 3 and item 4, we will cover as we go through the agenda, okay? Because there's additional information on those.
Okay, on the
But
hangar.
no update, but I'll give the update today.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
So just to go through an overview, we'll review the short-term projects. That's anything within the next 5 years. We'll review midterm projects, so that's 5 to 10 years out. Long-range projects, that's beyond 10 years. I'll give a little overview of just what the airport recycling chapter contains. We'll go over the airport layout plan. Really, I'll just review what each sheet represents. That way the commission has the opportunity to over the next month, review those chapters and the sheets and provide any comments. So not asking again for a vote at this time, just trying to go through and just introduce what all these things are, because it is quite a bit of information on just 11 sheets of paper. So let's move into the next slide, if we could please. Short-term improvements. So these are, and keep in mind, we do have, the airport will be a recipient of that bill funding. So some of these projects, it might seem a little bit cumbersome over the next 5 years to have so many projects, but there is that additional funding. And so some of these projects have been placed into the short term to reflect that availability of funding. So we have the acquisition of avigation easements and execute memorandums of understanding. The memorandum of understanding being any sorts of vegetation that might be along rights of way that are obstructing trees to the runway 32 approaches. Then that actual vegetative obstruction removal, mitigating those utility poles, however FAA determines that is best to be done. rehabilitation of the unnamed taxi lane, unnamed taxiway, corporate hangar construction, replace perimeter fencing, so that's any sections of fence around the airport that are existing that might be damaged or in need of repair, or potential, higher fence in certain areas, depending on the results of the wildlife hazard assessment. Then your land release for non-aeronautical development and acquisition of some pickup trucks to replace the existing trucks. Does anyone have questions about short-term improvements, or as we're going along, if there's anything the commission feels should be moved into a later year or bumped up into a sooner year on the plan? Certainly happy to do that based on your recommendations.
1 second. Now,
Sure.
Peter, have you had a chance to look at this at all yet? You have?
Yeah, I gave my comments.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, next slide, please. So midterm improvements, construct new perimeter fencing. So those are areas where the airport does not currently have fencing, so this would be new fencing. Replace aging snow removal equipment, rehabilitate the apron, and then if necessary, we have relocation of the ASOS. So if that, as you may recall from the last meeting, if the airport does pursue a full build-out of hangars in that former runway 20 area, that ASOS would need to be relocated to accommodate those buildings. Any questions on midterm so far?
I just have a comment. I don't believe the apron will last another 5 years. I think that's going to have to go up. It's got to go maybe within the next 2 years,
Okay.
because it's cracking up. It's terrible. This winter really took its toll on it. The cracks are almost 2 inches wide now. So we'll have to change the position of that.
Understood. I can certainly do that.
Thank you.
All right, next slide, please. So then again, these are the long-term developments. We have corporate hangar construction in that runway 14 area, so off of Blueberry Lane, I believe it is, in that vacant area. And then developing the terminal area, so potentially maybe constructing new hangar buildings somewhere in the terminal area as needed, and then general aviation hangar construction. So T hangars or box hangars as needed for general aviation.
Is it worth noting on there that all of that within those 3 areas is all going to be private and not FAA funded? Just a question.
Yeah, we did. I can double check my notes, but I believe in the chapter we do list out the.
Yeah, you're doing the chapter.
Yep, so in the
doing the
AIP
chapter.
funding versus private funding, and we do identify that within the chapter. Any questions on those?
No.
Okay, so next slide, please. So I will keep it brief on airport recycling, but essentially what this chapter does is it identifies the different types of waste that are generally generated at airports, and then reviews the airport's recycling and waste management practices, and then how that fits into the overall city program. And essentially what we learned is that the airport utilizes the city mandated rubbish and recycling program, which is a pretty robust program already. So we've just summarized that program in the chapter and how that fits into the operations at the airport. Any questions on that? Okay, moving on to the next slide, the airport layout plan. So this is the final piece of the master plan. The airport layout plan is the graphical representation of all airfield facilities, current and future. So sheets contained in the airport layout plan, you have your title sheet, your data sheet, they're all listed out here, but I'll just go through some of the major ones and explain what they are and what you will find on those sheets. So if we can go to the next slide. So this is very small, I apologize, but you do have a copy of that in your packet. This is the airport data sheet, and what's contained on this sheet is basically all of the airport's dimensional standards. For example, the dimensions of your runway safety areas, your runway protection zones, your wind coverage, those different things are all contained within that sheet. So just very helpful, quick reference information. Anytime, you know, a project is being developed, that's a resource that can be used to determine any of those dimensions as needed. So next slide, please. Pretty straightforward. This is your existing facilities plan. This depicts all your airfield facilities as they exist today. Also provides, you know, locations and dimensions of certain critical areas and things like that as required by FAA. Next slide, please. This is your ultimate airport layout plan. So this is where you'll see all proposed developments. These are the alternatives that were selected as part of the Chapter 6 review. So all of the projects that the commission selected as the preferred alternatives are contained on the ultimate airport layout plan. And just worth mentioning, I know I've said it before, but just because a project is listed on the airport layout plan doesn't commit the airport, doesn't commit the city or FAA or Mass DOT to funding any of these items. Each year as the airport goes through the capital improvement plan meeting with FAA and the agencies, you have the opportunity to review all of these projects and see what is actually needed at the time, and then those developments will actually be implemented based on the needs of the airport at that time. Any questions?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I got a couple
Okay,
myself.
go ahead.
too.
Sure.
So the little brown areas with the black rectangles, are those proposed parking for hangar parking?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, you know, it's just because it's laid out in a certain way on the airport layout plan doesn't commit the commission or the airport to constructing things exactly as they are, just kind of accounting for if the need arises for private parking for some of these corporate hangar developments, it is located on the plan. So you know, just to kind of give a spatial representation of what may fit in that area.
Yeah, no, that's good. Peter, go ahead.
Okay. This is graphically correct, isn't it, in terms of scale?
I'm sorry?
It's graphically correct in terms of scale. So what we
Yes,
look, okay.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Now, the little red line across for the building line to the east of, but Eve didn't put the west one on yet. It says building restriction line, and there's nothing there. So we need that red line to go all the way across there, correct?
Building restriction line,
It's right in the center of the page,
yep, I see that.
okay? Now, that building restriction line is dramatically reducing the area that we have for the potential solar farm.
Oh, so you're saying on the other side
Yes,
of the,
on the
okay.
west side,
Yep, let me make sure that that gets added. That's a very good point.
please. Now, is that restriction line there because an aircraft can go off the runway and run into it, or is it a restriction line to depict the amount of height you can go there?
It's to depict, basically what it is your safety areas, the Part 77 imaginary airspace. It essentially takes your primary surface, which is the surface immediately surrounding the runway,
Right.
and it calculates, and you have your transitional surface that goes upward and outward from the sides of that surface.
So it does go from that red line?
So that red line represents, and I'd have to look it up, I think it's a 35-foot height.
That's correct, Jackie.
Is that correct?
Okay,
Correct.
so does that mean that if we put solar panels on there, that they're only going to be 2 foot high, that we can go closer to the runway?
Matt, can you?
No, you can't, Peter, because you have your runway obstacle-free zone and your runway object-free area.
Okay, so basically it
Those
is,
are depicted on the ALP. Those are some of the other lines that you see closest to the fence.
right,
So you cannot breach that area with solar. But as far as the building restriction line goes, for the opposite side, I don't think there's going to be any issue with solar panels reaching a height of 35 feet out there. So you should be good for development of solar.
yeah, but we can't go in further, closer, because it's a restricted area in case the plane goes off the runway then,
That is
basically?
correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
This line here, you see where it says that? There should be a red line going all the way across there.
Just give us a few minutes, Jackie.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay? Are you with it, Rich?
And keep in mind, you know,
I do, I see the pink
Okay.
line.
Yeah.
we will be keeping this item in draft format for
gonna
the
be the
next
same
month.
distance
So
over here.
any
way
questions that
down
arise, even if they're not during tonight's meeting, you'll certainly have an opportunity to,
Right there.
you know, ask any other questions that you might have.
Look, there's the red line I'm talking about.
Yes.
Right, and it's got that on it, but here, it's got that, but there's no red line, so I'm asking, could they please put the red line on here to depict the area that now we've only got for,
Yeah, so you're saying we're not gonna be able to go under
No,
this either?
absolutely not.
Yeah, for
From-
aircraft runoff.
He's looking at the
wind, all the way across.
drawing
Yeah,
number
right.
3.
Right,
Cuts off a
Drawing
lot.
number 4. Oh, drawing number 3.
Yeah,
massive loss,
that
isn't it?
restriction line there, that's what he,
Almost lost. Did you see it, Beth?
Yep.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
are you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jackie.
and the pink line's on both.
Yeah, so we'll add that building restriction line on the other side of the runway so it's more clear.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mary Jo.
I had a very quick question. I believe you mentioned it before in another presentation. Things that are depicted on here may or may not get built, they may or may not get funded. What's the inverse of that? If something isn't on here, is it an amendment to this plan for it to be on there?
Correct, so it's called a pen and ink change.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Any other questions on the ultimate airport layout plan before we move on? I know it's a lot of information to digest in one meeting. Okay,
So-
we'll move to the next slide then, if that's okay?
Yeah, that's quite all right, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So here's your airport airspace drawing. As I mentioned before, Part 77, you might have heard us throwing that term around. So these are the airport's protected surfaces. So you have, you know, your primary surface immediately surrounding the runway. The transitional surface is depicted going upward and outward from that. You have your Part 77 approaches, and then you have your outer conical and horizontal surfaces. And these depict what obstructions were identified as a result of the obstruction survey as part of this project. And then it also depicts all the beacons that are surrounding the airport. Any questions on this airspace drawing?
So, yeah, I just, one comment. So if, let's say the city of Leominster is wondering if, you know, they can put up a 10-story building. Are they gonna have access to this as well?
It's a public document, yes, so
It
they
is.
certainly could. We
Yeah.
certainly can provide whatever. Yes,
May
sir.
I answer that, please?
May.
Attorney Pusateri as well. Once I receive these, I think these are absolutely fantastic documents for both Leominster and Fitchburg, the next sheet, if we may. As soon as I got these, I forwarded these to Mark Barbadora and told him that this is his working permit for the future. Nobody can build above that height. It's all identified on the sheet. It's an absolutely amazing document. And I sent
So
it to
next
Jeff
slide,
Pugh
please.
at Leominster.
Thank you.
So they've both got it, so they know exactly.
Leominster has,
They've
their
both
building
got
department?
it. I've already sent it off. Okay?
Yep, so this is the obstacle clearance surface, that's the 20-to-1 approach surface coming into the runway. I've only shown one sheet here because it's essentially, you know, each sheet is the same for each runway end, just showing the obstructions that are contained within that 20-to-1 surface.
Which is the proposed, as opposed to the existing surface?
This is the existing surface, yep.
Okay.
And then you also have, so if we go to the next slide, there's also your Part 77 approach surface, so it's just a different standard that FAA uses, but essentially the 20-to-1 surface that we had viewed before is really what FAA flight procedures utilizes to establish the airport's approaches and to, you know, list whether an approach is clear or not.
Yep.
So then the Part 77, again, I've just shown one sheet rather than both, just because it's representative of both of the sheets. So these are the obstructions that are in the Part 77 approach. So the Part 77 approach is a little bit different in that it's a 34-to-1, so a shallower slope, so you're going to pick up more obstructions within that surface.
Are these existing obstructions that you're showing on drawing number 7?
Yes.
So these have to be addressed?
On drawing number 7, yes, the obstacle clearance surface, yes, those were what we have recommended as part of Chapter 6 to have those obstructions removed. And that is a priority project for FAA.
And those black lines are the poles?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep, the black lines on drawing 7 are the poles. And you'll notice there's proposed action table, so we're waiting for a response from FAA
Yeah.
on these items, so those are, mitigate as directed.
How often do we have to address the vegetation situation? I mean, you're going to top off trees, and over the period of time, it's going to grow. So is this a revolving scope of work that's going to be done every so many years? This has to be reevaluated?
The airport should be periodically, monitoring the growth of these areas and anything that pops
So
up.
it's our responsibility,
Correct,
the city?
correct,
Okay.
yes.
The city actually buying us a helicopter so that we can fly over at the right levels every now and again, so I'm only joking, Vinny.
Are you piloting?
So this is work that we have accounted for in the airport master plan.
So the Part 77 approaches, FAA doesn't necessarily have the airport clear according to Part 77. It's according to your 20-to-1. I know it's a little bit, can we go to the previous slide? So this is what FAA, your 20-to-1 obstacle clearance surface is what FAA will require you to clear. And then also on sheet 7 that you have in front of you, so those are the 2 sheets.
So this is additional?
So so the Part 77 airspace drawing, those are additional obstructions that have been identified. And again, we're working with FAA behind the scenes to get their, to just get their guidance on what the airport needs to do, if anything, about the obstructions to Part 77.
So will the FAA fund Part 77?
Matt, can you help me with that?
Yeah, they would fund Part 77, but it is not required. As Jackie's saying, your obstacle clearance surface, that 20-to-1, which is on sheet 6 and sheet 7, is what the FAA requires you to clear, and that's what they'd be most likely looking to pay for.
So I'm a little lost. There's a lot of vegetation here on pages 8 and pages 7.
Yep, Part 77 is regulatory. That's federal. That's a federal regulation, but from the FAA's design AC 150-5300, now 13-B, that describes the minimum surface that needs to be cleared in order to satisfy safe aeronautical use for both those runway ends, and that is what is required to be cleared. The Part 77, because we're complying with the FAA standard operating procedures for airport layout plan development, it does require that we include those sheets that show Part 77, but those are not required to be cleared by the airport.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Remind me again, is there an evaluation of wildlife in this vegetation? You know, yes, Peter?
There
Okay.
is, yeah.
Yeah, it's coming.
Any other questions about the obstruction plans? I know it's a lot of information.
Oh, is everybody okay now? Yep.
A lot of vegetation.
Yes.
Uh,
So-
They are excellent documents. I've got to compliment Gail for putting those together. They're excellent.
Thank you, Peter. So this is your 40-to-1 departure surface. So again, you know, similar to Part 77, it is required by FAA that we include obstructions to the 40-to-1 departure surfaces, not necessarily meaning that the airport will have to go out and clear all of these obstructions or be required to clear them, but just, again, complying with the SOP for developing this airport layout plan, making sure that we're identifying all the obstructions as required.
Yeah, because we have to remove some earth on 40-to-1. Quite a bit.
Yeah, that,
It's probably not all brown sand either.
No.
All right, good, thank you.
thank you. Any questions on that before we move into the last slide of the ALP? Next slide, please. So this is your land use drawing. This is just depicting all of the different land zoning uses surrounding the airport.
We like to mix things up here in the city, don't we?
Yeah.
We do.
RA, RB, RC, whoa.
Any questions on that sheet?
Again, this is all part of their request, okay?
That's correct,
Yep.
yes. Yep.
This is more for the FAA, so they know what they're dealing with, what the surrounding properties are within the municipal airport.
Yeah, and it's just a helpful document, a helpful, you know, resource to have on hand at your fingertips. It's a lot of information in one place and a quick way to flip through and just get really any physical information about the airport that one may need.
Yeah. Excellent.
Any questions before we wrap it up?
No, very good.
So, so as I said before, the next steps in the process, I'm hoping to forward draft chapters 7 and 8 to FAA and Mass DOT, just for their review and comment. They don't need to approve these chapters, just to get their, any comments that they may have or concerns that they have. And then from there, we'll also want to kind of concurrently post the draft airport layout plan and draft chapters 7 and 8 to the airport website for review between now and the next commission meeting. Again, just to give the public and the commission, anyone who's interested, the opportunity to review this documentation before we start moving into the final submission and closeout of this project.
All right, so you're gonna add that pink line that Peter had talked about.
Correct.
And then you're looking for us to give you the go-ahead to do so, to put it on public website? Or-
Correct, yeah, I hopefully put it on the website as soon as possible.
Correct.
Just that way the public, like I said, has, you know, plenty of time between now and the next meeting if anyone's interested to review the items before we start getting into the final closeout process.
All right, well, I'd like to make a motion to have you do just that with that correction that Peter had mentioned.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All set?
Yep.
Vote?
Aye?
Yeah,
Aye.
so,
Perfect. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you. So that we'll make those changes and then prepare those for upload to the city website.
yes, perfect.
And then also chapter 7 and 8 to be forwarded to Mass DOT and FAA, just, I mean, once they're public, you know, once they're on the public website, no issues with us forwarding those over to the agencies, correct?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so I will
On
do,
a separate motion to do so, we can do,
I mean, I guess might as well
yeah, so
forward those chapters 7 and 8 to FAA.
make a motion to allow Gail to forward to the FAA chapters 7 and 8 after public review. If there's a specific amount of time, I have no idea.
So I would actually want to send the draft chapter 7 and 8 while the public review is going on, just to keep things kind of moving, if that's okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yep. So, a motion, Raymond,
Second.
second
What was the
Beth.
motion again?
To allow Gail to forward chapters 7 and 8,
To FAA and Mass DOT for
currently
review.
with putting them at the on the website
Okay.
for public review.
Perfect.
Yep.
Do
We're
you
good.
have a second?
Yeah, I seconded it.
Any other questions or comments? Go to the last slide, please, if you wouldn't mind. So there, again, just for the public information, that is where the public may view the master plan chapters. Chapters 1 through 6 are on the website now, and then chapters 7 and 8 and the draft airport layout plan, once those revisions are made, will be uploaded as soon as possible. And we invite, of course, as always, anyone to comment or ask any questions that they may have on the master plan or any of the chapters at all.
Well, I think we're good.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Matt. All right, that brings us to Fitchburg Pilots Association update. Typically comes from Peter. Any information from Fitchburg Pilots Association?
Basically, there is none other than to say that this Sunday we have the Wings and Wheels.
Yep.
It commences at 9 o'clock in the morning and terminates at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to be a great event,
How many are we expecting for attendance
Uh,
typically?
maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people.
It's awesome.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
Excellent. New business. We have two items on new business, Commission Co-Chair and Commission Secretary. If you recall, last month's meeting, we were looking for a Commission Secretary. It is my understanding that Commissioner Liberatore would like to take on that role, but as a order of business, we need to remove Mr. Liberatore from the co-chair position, so he doesn't have two positions at the same time.
That's correct.
So, I'm looking for a motion to remove Mr. Liberatore from the co-chair position.
So moved.
Motion, Beth. I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
4. All right, back to Commission Secretary. We are looking for anyone that would like to volunteer for Commission Secretary. Do I have a candidate?
I thought Richie.
Good.
Is that a trick question? Or
I want his notes to be as clear as possible. We have a candidate. I would motion that the commission would select Mr. Liberatore as secretary.
I would second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Liberatore.
It's my pleasure, so we can continue to move forward.
Thank you. Let's move on to old business, mass development site readiness. Mary Jo? Yes, please.
Since we last met a month ago, I did have an online meeting with Mass Development VHB, who is one of the consultants that they will bring forward for some of the work. But we brainstormed on also having a sub-consultant, a different firm that specializes more in economics types of things, analyses for airports. And Mass Development was familiar with someone who had done work in other parts of the Commonwealth. And so that party has been spoken to. They're very excited about being a part of the team. The scope is going to be a little broader. So I had a rough scope that was just VHB's work, but it was only half the funds. Keep in mind, this grant is about $100,000 worth of services in total. So about the other half of funds, and some of the things that we wanted to have this economics consultant really look at was the market demand, possibly for hangars, other aviation uses, and also some templates. Chair Raymond had suggested templates on land leases for other, airports might be interesting, and also the value of certain things. Just giving you all the kind of information that will help you when you have people come to call or you have to make decisions. So anyway, we don't have that combined scope. You have one consultant, the main one, and then this specialist, so to speak. But before the next meeting, we will have already had those two scopes put together, and we'll provide a draft to you to view kind of on your in-between time, so that by the time we're back together, hopefully that will all be sewn up. But I think it's going to be a lot more information, which is what you want. So anyway, stay tuned. And I just spoke with Ed Starzek of Mass Development this afternoon, and he feels pretty confident within the next 2 weeks that you should have that material to look at and then react to and so on.
We'll be looking forward to that scope of work.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Jo.
Uh-huh.
Item B, door for lobby, Mr. Kettle.
Yes, J&R Glass are doing this, and I checked with them this morning, and they said it's going to be an additional 6 to 8 weeks as from now.
Yeah.
So they've got all the patterns made, and basically what they're doing is they've come in and they've done another measurement check this week, so it's measured twice and cut once. So they're doing that, and another 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Item C, R4102A, R4102B. It's May 12th is on here, so.
Yep.
Yep, go ahead, Peter.
Okay, this is working well. We actually had a TBM turboprop come in today, and he actually got permission to fly through it, so it's working well. And the May the 12th is basically the get-together between us and Devons to say, how's it going? Should we continue as we are, or what's the next step? But I believe this is it now, and I think it's going to be good for
That's big.
for the best,
Yeah, no, that was
Longevity,
a
so-
big deal, and it was well done. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Attorney Pusateri. Thank you, the mayor. I know it took quite a few people to get that together, and I'm glad it worked out well. Thank you. Item D, tie downs, FPA co-op. Last I remember, we were waiting for some instruction from Attorney Pusateri's office to forward some information down to the FPA.
The letter is written and it's being sent out
Okay.
within the next couple of days.
Couple of typos that Peter picked up on, so, but it's good to have an editor.
He's very British that
Very
way.
good at that.
Yes,
So the
I
document is,
appreciated it very much.
the document is already prepared,
Yes.
Yeah,
and it was just fine tuning it.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Attorney Pusateri and Peter, I appreciate it. Item E, RFP, 7 to 9 hangars. Peter,
This actually, there's a meeting this coming Saturday with the interested parties between the attorney and Eric Sheffels, who's representing the interested parties, and myself and yourself, I believe.
yep, Saturday
Chair.
morning.
Saturday morning, and once that's done, it's really basically to look at a revision of the land lease agreement that we've got to come to a conclusion so that we can move forward once both parties agree, and we can start on the development of the 7 properties.
Oh, let me just say something. So we're trying to develop a land lease that is palatable for your average developer. However, once this lease comes on paper, this is going out for RFP again.
Correct.
with the new attached land lease,
Correct,
and we're gonna see what happens.
correct.
Okay. Attorney Pusateri, did you want to say?
I am looking forward to being made sport this Saturday by Mr. Sheffels. And wanted to just ask Peter, we were going to have it at my office.
We
because-
are.
Okay, because you
Yes.
did suggest the North Conference.
I did, but then you came back and everybody agreed it's your office at 9
Then we
o'clock.
can make the changes right then and there is what I
Yes.
was hoping to do.
Yes,
Okay, okay. So, yes, hopefully that this will be done this Saturday.
Okay. Very good.
I don't-
Item F, Hangar 10, new door. Peter Kittle?
I'm very pleased to say that the design change went through the city. Everybody signed it, and we have a date of May the 16th for commencement of the installation of the new door on
Excellent.
Hangar 10.
Lots of positive news tonight.
I know.
It's, spring is in the air.
That's right.
That's what it is.
Thank you, Peter. Item G, door roof for hangars 2, door roof
Door/roof. for
slash
hangars.
roof for hangars 2 and 3.
Today, we had a walkthrough and an evaluation. It's funny, there was one person there from a door manufacturer and one person there from the people who want to do the actual process of putting the new door, roof skin on. And that went really well. They're both very, very interested. And we do have other people that couldn't get here, but they're interested and they're going to put a bid in. So that was done today, and the actual closing of the bids is next week, the 28th. So things are moving.
So the bid is out, and today was
Walkthrough.
invited the public to take a look.
Yes, the
thanks.
interested people, yeah.
Yes, okay.
This is all revolving around the bidding process.
Right,
Everyone who came in and did the walkthrough is actually bidding on the work.
yes.
Item H, self-serve fuel transfer to and from truck. Mr. Kettle?
Yeah, we addressed
Yeah.
that when Jackie was
Yeah.
on the podium, and it's completed. And as I said, Titan are paying for the work.
We're going to take that off the agenda.
Yes, we are. But it was there just to let everybody know.
Perfect. Item I, minimum standards. Did you get your feedback?
I have one feedback from Commissioner Liberatore. I have your feedback, but I haven't had anybody else's.
Okay,
I provided my feedback to Mr. Chair, so
yeah.
Oh, so you got them?
I have David's,
Okay.
and I
I
don't.
have not sent, and I
Okay.
apologize for that.
Yeah,
My email has been sort of intermittent.
Yeah.
So, but I will make sure I take care of that.
I mean, if you can get them all together and let me have them, I'll amend exactly what you've said, and then it's got to go through, I believe, the attorney first for checking, so that we can actually publish it.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Again, I kind of approached the commission as to more of a brainstorming session. We just kind of putting things out there that we'd like to know why or consider. I personally don't need to have everything I put in there
in that,
changed.
right.
I'm not sure how David views what he had looked at as well, but,
yeah, I kind of just went off of Mr. Chair's, what he likes to call chicken scratch. And aside from what he had identified, I didn't see any other eye-catching or eye-grabbing things, so I was kind of in
yeah, in
with
agreement,
what you
yeah.
had.
Well, just to let you know where that came from, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel,
Yeah.
in all honesty. So I've got some friends in airports throughout Massachusetts, and I asked them for their minimum standards. And Debbie supplied me with the one that we had in the past that I wasn't honestly aware of. And that is a good one that we can expand on using some of the latest stuff like internet connections and all that in the premises. Because all the ones that are there now have got that facility. So
Yeah.
anybody wanting to come in should also have to work to the same minimum standard. And that's what you've seen. So,
And I understand it, you know, you want to have a flight school at your airport, but you don't want to have one person with no insurance teaching people how to fly out of our airport.
Right.
Same goes for an
the
FBO.
AMP, right.
You know, you don't want somebody repairing the airplanes on the airport in a hangar that's not designed for aircraft maintenance, and from somebody that we don't know anything about or have information and insurance information and so forth and so on. So, yeah, I'm all for these standards to be updated, and we should have that to you in short order. I'll pass on what, I apologize, I thought David CC'd you as well, I just didn't look.
Maybe that was my intention. I apologize if
Yeah,
that was the
that's
case.
not
That's
a big
fine.
deal.
And I can send you mine tomorrow.
Okay,
Copy.
yeah.
Thank you.
So you'll have that within the next week. Item J, Pete's Store,
Well, basically,
still
this-
on the
this-
agenda.
This is sort of well, it is, because
Yeah.
it's still in abeyance because of the airport master plan.
okay,
Because, we were waiting for that to be finalised and published, which it's gone down that route. And then we can start talking to other people, because it will have to go out for bid. So it's not just the Pete Store, it's for anybody that's interested in that land development.
yes,
So that's why I left it on there.
okay.
And the same with item K as well, Chair.
Yeah, Convergent Energy was anticipating having a presentation to the commission.
Yes.
And they are waiting on the airport master plan. 'Cause
Absolute-
There's no sense
otherwise, yeah.
talking about,
Something that they don't know
Fictitious.
if they're going to get it.
yeah,
So,
So this
yes,
Pete Store too is actually on hold because they're directly involved with the plan. So nothing really can move forward,
they're
right?
not directly involved with it. They are subject to whatever the master plan
Happens.
advises.
Right,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
But intent is the plan that's dictating policy for them right now.
Right.
yeah. All right, very good. Approval of commitments and abatements, do you have anything that needs
Is-
the commission's,
No, I mean, I have your approval to sign,
yes,
get the money in,
you do,
and there's no abatements this month. But
yeah,
before we go into item G, may I just say one thing,
yes,
please, as a part of an airport manager's update?
yes,
Sitting in my office and looking out down the runway, as I do occasionally when planes come in, I noticed that there was some sand hills being developed. And it got higher and higher and higher and higher. And I thought, that infringes Part 77. So I called our city commissioner, building commissioner, Mark Barbadora, and I pointed it out to him, and I said, Mark, can you get down there? Did you give any permits for any of this sand to be developed? It looks like they were actually extending their property very close to the river on the 1-4 end, which infringes Part 77, and also the wetlands. So I contacted Mark, and he said they've definitely done it, and they're going to take action. So they will be contacting the actual property owner, if they haven't already done so.
so they never asked for permission,
Apparently not.
yeah,
We didn't get anything at the airport. Mark didn't get anything, for a permit to do it.
yeah,
Because if he had had one with that Part 77 that Gail provided us, he'd have said no. And especially the wetlands. It's infringed onto the wetlands. That's my understanding. So hopefully at the next meeting, and I said, Mark, can I tell the commission tonight? I spoke to him this morning, and he said, yes, you can. So that's information for you.
To know.
Good catch.
so it looks like the manager's report just fell off the commission or something, fell off the
Yeah,
agenda.
this is the first time we've used it, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
In all honesty.
never there when you need it.
No, I know it's
It's always there when you don't need it. It's
Absolutely.
the way, law of the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, we're nearing the end here. Item G is executive session. You have to announce that ahead of the time. There is no executive session. There isn't any executive session this evening. Item H, date and time of next regular meeting. Your agenda is incorrect. It's the 18th of May would be the
Yeah, well-
next third Wednesday.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I put a question mark next to it in my head, so
Yeah.
I'm just checking if you're looking as well, so, okay. No, thank you.
Thanks
So it's
to-
the 18th.
Thanks to Dan at the FATV pointed that
right.
out. Apparently, none of us have a calendar.
Right.
You know, we're busy people. Regular meeting adjourned at, does anyone have the time?
6:58.
Yes. 6:58. I don't know if you have to motion to adjourn, but I'm going to motion to adjourn
And I'll second that motion.
at 6:58. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Second, Beth.
I think you do have to take a motion to
Yeah,
adjourn.
you do.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Just hit the gavel.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Thanks.